All right, we're less than 30 days away from the official start of winter, although this weekend kind of feels like the start of winter. Go get your Christmas trees. But there's a small problem that could perhaps derail one of our favorite winter traditions. And of course, Christmas without the lights would just be different. And at least for a lot of us, there's a possibility the lights may not always be on, or at least could flicker. Experts are already sounding the alarm about winter blackouts.
Much of North America is at an elevated risk of insufficient energy supplies this winter and highly exposed to risks of energy emergencies and extreme winter conditions.
All right, so that's a clip from the North American Electric Reliability Corporation. They're the nation's power grid watchdog. They say the Biden administration's energy policies raise the risk for blackouts across America this winter. The assessment is extremely concerning when you consider that much of the country, as you look there, will face a colder and snowier winter. We'll see if the forecast proves true. Jim Matheson's here, CEO of another group called the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association that represents small power grids across America. Do we need to call you the Grinch, or are you just the messenger?
I'm just the messenger. I hate to be the Grinch.
Oh, okay. So why is this? Because the electric grids, normally I turn on the lights and it's fine.
Yeah, we've had a tremendous record of reliability in this country for so many years. But what's happening is demand for electricity keeps going up, but supply hasn't kept up. In fact, in some cases, we're shutting down power plants that have useful life left. That's not good when you have that combination. And so we need to make sure we maintain the reliability of the grid and not dig a hole even deeper in terms of shutting down more power plants.
Okay, so ... we need to make sure of that. But for this winter, there's not much. Are you saying there's not much we can do?
Look, at this winter, we're at risk because the electric industry can't spin on a dime. You know, these are long-term decisions when you build new facilities or shut them down. It doesn't happen right away. But this assessment about this winter, it's consistent with what this organization's been saying for the last 4 or 5 years. The trend is getting more and more risk each year. And it doesn't mean all the lights are going out all the time. But look, we already had it happen last year. Christmas Eve, 9 states in the Mid-Atlantic area had rolling blackouts because there was not enough power to meet the demand.
And also we saw what happened in Texas.
Absolutely.
As well with that. Now, the White House would say, look, part of the reason for this is climate change. And because there's now higher demand in places that get colder, and we have these sort of more extreme things like we saw in Texas when it got super cold. So the only way to mitigate that is to have these restrictions on coal-fired plants, natural gas plants, on and on and on. That is going to save climate change so we don't have these problems going forward.
Yeah, but you can't change the laws of physics, and the answer is the wind doesn't blow 24 hours a day and the sun doesn't shine 24 hours a day. You need these resources that I describe as always available to meet demand. And that may be nuclear, it may be coal, it may be natural gas, but there's got to be that foundation in the electric system that's there all the time to keep the lights on. We can't keep shutting down plants and assuming we can replace it with this other kind of capacity, which is just intermittent and not always available, and think it's the same thing.
So I think about your group, 900 rural power providers, 42 million Americans, 48 states. So chances are it's either you or your grandma or your cousin that you all serve the power to. If I'm from a small town, I say, wait a second, my electric provider uses coal or natural gas. Why do I care what they're doing in California or Texas? Does what's happening in these other states in terms of solar and wind affect me?
You know, it happens sort of in regions. You know, the electric grid crosses multiple states. So, yeah, if you're in Virginia, perhaps what's happening in California doesn't matter. But if you're in a certain region, and even if your local utilities made all the right decisions, have enough resources, you're part of a bigger grid. And if we don't have enough generation to keep up with the demand, the blackouts are going to affect you too.
So we've done a lot of studies about this, and tell me how related these are to the push to electric vehicles. You keep talking about demand for electric going up. That realistically, that we're nowhere close, and we're nowhere planned to be close enough to supply all the electricity for electric cars that the Biden administration wants to have on the road over the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, that's just another way electricity is growing. You're right, demand for it. Electric vehicles switching to heat pumps instead of gas furnaces. And the other big use for electricity is these data centers that, you know, for cloud computing. We're using more and more electricity. And by the way, our economy, to the extent we need electricity to grow, we want to grow. So we shouldn't have a system that's less reliable in terms of providing electricity.
All right, and you say less reliable. Is this sort of like this could happen, or is this based on the past couple of years, this is going to happen, we just don't know where?
There's a reasonable likelihood it's going to happen somewhere. It's an elevated risk, according to this most recent study published. Like I said, it happened last winter in 9 states. It was on Christmas Eve when there wasn't a large commercial industrial load, but it got really cold and we couldn't keep the lights on. So we're on this trend, and we're sounding the alarm not just for this winter, but looking out over the next several years. Do we want to keep going down this path where it becomes more and more likely, or do we want to make sure we're making better decisions to mitigate that risk?
All right, good to see you, sir. We'll give you messenger status rather than Grinch status.
Love it.
All right,
Thank you.
take care.